Let me move that over here so I can hear myself and turn this down. How you guys doing? My name is Steve. This show is called Wake Up America. Not even plugged in. Woo-hoo-hoo. You guys ready? Yeah, let's just start. How you guys doing? Today is, August 2nd. Turn off the fan. Today is August 2nd. It's now 8 o'clock, as you can see up above on the time over there. Man, I had a plan on what I was going to talk about, and then I got carried away doing some other stuff, and then I got working on something else, and I didn't really, there's just, what else are we going to talk about on social media? I'm not going to be able to talk about a lot. So I'm going to talk about the headlines and stuff on social media, and then we're going to go straight over to PTNN, and then you'll be able to hear what I really think about what happened at the election. You'll really be able to hear what I have to say about the COVID vaccinations and all that stuff. That'll be after this stream. So if you do not have an account on Citizen Stringer or PTNN, make sure you visit ptnn.tv right now, sign up for it, and then you'll be able to watch it as soon as this is done. Just a quick housekeeping thing on YouTube. On the Wake Up America page, many of you guys are probably wondering, wait, how come there's no members? How come we can't send super chats? Because I'm following through with what I said, and YouTube is not going to make money off of me anymore, except for the advertising on some videos. That will still occur, but I'm not doing we're not doing super chats, even though it'll affect me. I don't want to support big tech. So that's what I'm doing. That's why there's no more members on YouTube. That's why there's no super chat or super sticker capabilities over there. And I hope you guys understand why I had to do that. But that's what we have to do. First things first, this show is sponsored by Spartan Armor Systems. Right there, SpartanArmorSystems.com. It's still cut off. But if you use code YEET, you get 10% off your body armor order. They have some awesome products, awesome hats. They got the soft plate there. I actually, back here, I don't have it lit well, but I got that. And then this is a soft plate carrier that, as you can see, in this thing, even though the back plate's right there, this has got the front plate in. Maybe weighs 5 pounds. With, one plate with that one, it probably weighs 10 pounds max. Super light. The heavier ones, the level 3 plus, I think those are obviously quite a bit heavier. But yeah, check that out. Yes, all YouTube memberships have been canceled because I'm not going to support big tech if they're going to keep banning me for saying the same thing the CDC says, only I say it quicker than the CDC does because I have a brain and I know what's really going on in this country. Well, they're not going to make any money off of me. And I'll be honest, Facebook is going to be the next one to go. So Facebook supporters, I'm going to end up ending that probably by the end of this week. And I know it's a gamble. Many of you guys are probably saying, well, how is this working? How will you do that? Well, the reason I'm doing it is because big tech, like for example, last week rather, we wrote a story about a doctor, and he works at a hospital. He's an ER doc, and he made this tweet, and many of you guys probably saw the article, but he put out this tweet talking about how horrible COVID was. So we wrote a tweet about it because that tweet was shared by bots left and right, over and over and over. We didn't critique what he said. We didn't say what he wrote was fake. We didn't say anything like that, except that it appeared that hundreds of bots retweeted out his tweet as their own across the country, and they call it copy paste or something like that. That's what I guess these fact checkers. So our story was fact checked, and because we did not specifically say that. Well, we did say he was a real doctor. Because we didn't specify that these bots were people that were copying and pasting it, they literally gave us a false or missing context news. So when everyone shares it, it gets a false news. So guess what? I'm probably going to sue that the French company, and they're going to have to come to the United States and answer the complaint. Because now when you try to share that article, guess what it says? This article is false. And if you share it, you're sharing false news put out by Citizen Stringer News. Well, guess what? That's defamation, right? Wouldn't you think? Because they're saying we spread false news, even though really we just said, hey, this tweet, which was shared out by a real doctor, has been shared out by a bunch of fake people. If you actually read the fact check that it referenced to, it actually says the same thing. It's quite amazing. Someone said Tim Pool had a good Facebook fact check on CDC being called false. Yeah, I'm not even sure what that means or how that's relevant right now. But there's a lot that's going on. And then a lot of these other companies are starting to look at the actual fact-checking all these companies that are doing fact checking, who funds them? There's a bunch of Facebook posts that are going around now and on Twitter saying a lot of the companies that are doing these fact checks actually are recipients of money with people tied to these big tech or these big pharmaceutical companies that are dealing with COVID-19, which would be kind of interesting if that's actually how it is. Because if that's actually how it is, then that makes sense why they're, censoring every single little, bit of controversy that goes out. But who actually knows? I mean, I don't. One of the other things, well, here, I guess I'll just play. These videos may be out of order, so you guys may have to just bear with me on it.
Private businesses, I am asking them and suggesting to them, go to vaccine-only admission. Go to vaccine-only admission.
That's the governor of New York asking private businesses in his state, a huge state, to go to vaccine-only admission. So basically, that's the governor saying, hey, we can't mandate you to require vaccinations yet so far. It's probably going to happen, but we can't mandate you to do it. So we want you to do it. We are encouraging you to say, hey, if you're a business owner, the doors are closed unless you're vaccinated, which is really funny because didn't his brother just call a guy that did the exact opposite, said, if you're vaccinated, you can't come into my store? Didn't he call him an idiot and all these other things on the news? I tell you, some things never cease to amaze. And this news cycle, I mean, there's nothing new. So yesterday, most of you guys know I went down to Charlotte, North Carolina and covered a Healthcare United, Health Workers United, or Healthcare Heroes protest that took place. They met at Freedom Park and then they marched to Antrim Healthcare where they stood strong. And I'll be honest, it's way bigger, way more people than I actually thought were going to be there. And unfortunately, I was trying to queue up the videos, but I'm having a problem with my software renderer on this computer. So I'm going to have to reinstall it because I know you guys haven't seen the videos. Anyone that was watching on Facebook or YouTube yesterday for the live before it got too hot that our backpack died, you saw some of it. It was so much bigger than what you guys saw. I had no idea until I put the camera right in the middle of the crowd as they started walking, and for 10 minutes, just people flooded by with their signs over and over and over. So I'll have that video I'll put up to get tomorrow, and I'll put that on social media because I think it's really important for people to recognize this is bigger than politics. That's what everyone always says. It's always Trump supporters, even though 36% of the unvaccinated population happens to be African American. It's not white, but let's just keep going with that narrative. That's what CNN and everybody says. But what was interesting about what happened in Charlotte yesterday is it wasn't political. I mean, it depends who you are, because to me, singing the national anthem isn't political and having American flags isn't political. That's American. But, some may construe that as being political. But it wasn't like Biden sucks or anything like that. There was none of that going on. Yes, there was a lot of hate towards Fauci. Well, because rightfully so, there was a lot of hate towards Fauci. There was a lot of hate towards the vaccinations, but not necessarily because anyone doubted that the vaccines actually save lives or anything like that. Nobody doubted that. What the reason for the protests and the reason why you're going to see these protests pop up quite a bit more, the reason why they're protesting is because people are literally being told that they have to be vaccinated or they will lose their job. All these healthcare workers in Carolina, in Charlotte, they weren't being told that they, like California or the federal government or New York, they weren't being told that, hey, you can get vaccinated or you have to get the COVID test twice a week, shoved up your nose and have masks and all that. They weren't being told that. They were told you either have to get vaccinated or have health reasons saying why you can't, or have religious exemptions. And with the religious exemption, you essentially have to write a paper on why taking the vaccine violates your religion. And so it's absolutely nuts. Today I've been getting messages from all these nurses and doctors and respiratory therapists and everybody in North Carolina that saw that they were out there, or that we were out there, and want us to continue telling the story. And we need to, because I'll be honest, what I saw yesterday was amazing. It was amazing standing out there and talking with people and just being with that many people. That it wasn't about politics. It wasn't like going to a Trump rally or anything like that. These were people that it's literally what I say all the time. It's just people that remembered, hey, we are Americans and we get to make a choice. It's not about politics. It's not about, any of the stuff that's been happening over the past 2 years. It wasn't about any of that. It was about literally getting some fluid put in your body, or it wasn't even about that, because a lot of the people were vaccinated. It was about forcing people to get some fluid put into their body. And it was purely like honest. It was an American rally is the only way I could fully describe it, because they only cared about their rights, their body, their choice, all the same arguments we've been hearing for years, but now it's just different. Now it's people that don't necessarily fit that same agenda that we've had always. Isn't it weird how it's kind of flopped? Because you have the abortion crowd on one side saying it's my body, my choice, and then you have, the pro-life people that are saying no, no, and now it's kind of switched, because now it's the pro-life people that are being like, no, it's just so backwards. You guys know what I'm saying, because the same people that were saying my body, my choice a year ago are the same people now saying lock them down, lock them up, and do all that stuff. Who cares if they lose their job? They're not saving other people. While, and again, the vaccination, it's proven to lessen the chances of you dying from the vaccine or from COVID-19. But then again, when you look at the actual death rates right now, it's all weird, because you can't believe any CDC guidance at all either. But I tell you what, man, it was great. I talked to Adam, when I was driving back, and it sucked. You guys can't see with the camera, but I'll show you. See the sunburn? I'm pretty sunburned. My wife said I need to get wear sunscreen tattooed on my hand or something, so I see it, because I always get sunburned all the time. But it was amazing. And it wasn't even just some people. That's the beauty of it. So I got there at 12, okay? And by 12:30, I'm like, man, there's not that many people. I really hope people show up. I just drove 5 hours. And then they started talking, and I had the camera out, and I'm trying to listen to the speakers and all that stuff. And I'll be honest, I got kind of swallowed up in the moment and didn't really pay attention to my surroundings as much. And then when they all started walking, that's when I realized, because at that time, the backpack it overheated, so it stopped streaming. So I went and dropped that off in my truck, and then I came back, and I got a couple of, excuse me, I got a couple of shots of some interviews, which I'll put out tomorrow. And then it was just, it was surreal almost, just to see how many people, I don't even know where the hell they came from. But it was just amazing. And these people are thanking the police officers for doing their job. They're everyone was keeping themselves out of the street, and other people get out of the street, we'll make more room. It was an American protest. In all reality, it was neat. It was orderly. It was respectful. There was kids and women, and it was just amazing. You know what I mean? It was just amazing. And shout out to the boys. You know what I'm talking about. A couple of people came up, and they knew who I were, and they're like, hey, we got you. So shout out to you guys. I don't know if you're from Fayetteville or where you're from. I missed that, but I know a couple of you will be watching. Oh, and the dude that was wearing the Hawaiian shirt, dude, he stuck out like a sore thumb. But don't wear Hawaiian shirts next time. Anyway, but it was amazing. It really was, and hopefully, if I can't get this software so I can edit it correctly tomorrow, then I'm just going to upload the videos one by one onto YouTube or onto our platform for everyone to be able to watch, because I'm not going to spend more time editing it, because I need people to actually be out there to see it. You know what I mean? And for some reason, I'm having a problem with the software. And again, if any of you guys are a video editor and you want to work for a startup, send me a message, send me an email. I need to hire one, because we need to hire one full time for our company. So if any of you guys do it and are good at it and you want a job, send me an email, and we'll get you going. You got to send some samples and stuff like that. And I may put you to the test to make sure you can do it, but we need someone to do it full time. But yeah, it was amazing. It was amazing. And there's another one, which we're not going to have any. If any of you guys are down there and you want to live stream for us on Wednesday, I believe at 8:30 in the morning, they have another march to the governor's mansion or the Capitol. I don't know. I think it's in Raleigh. That's Wednesday. And I'm not going back down there. My kids start school on Thursday, so I'm not going to miss that. So I'm going to be here And then this weekend, there's something, I don't remember what, but I was going to go somewhere and film this weekend. And yeah, there's so much. And then next week, August 10th, is the Loudoun County School Board. I think that's the next school board meeting that they have, or maybe it's tomorrow. I don't remember. And then also August 10th is when all the folks from Nexus have to appear in person in court. So I'm going to be there. Obviously can't live stream. It's a federal court. It's at 9:30 in the morning. But I'm going to be there in hopes that they get put in handcuffs, because I really want to see that. And if any of you guys don't know what I'm talking about, go to my website, search for Nexus, and you're going to find out why I have such a bone to pick for them. And it's even worse today. So here's a segue now. From anyone that doesn't know, we've been covering this group of BLM protesters that have been protesting in Stanton, Virginia, which is, I don't know, less than 2 hours south of me down 81. Very small town, maybe, I don't even know how many people, less than 25,000, very small town. This group of BLM protesters have been protesting in this community, chastising police officers and their neighborhood, protesting outside of counter protesters' businesses, and now they've kind of spread out. So now they're walking in downtown, they're doing all sorts of other stuff. But the reason why my attention was drawn to it is because all these protesters were using lapel mics, and they had a camera crew following them. And I'm like, that's different. All the protests and stuff that I've watched over the past year, I've never seen protesters all wearing lapel mics. I've never seen professional camera crews following around the protesters. I've never seen, people carrying around what appears to be scripts. So we started diving into it, and it turns out they're not real protesters. They're paid actors working on a show called The System. And the show, this show, The System, is, according to new court documents that were funded yesterday, or that were filed yesterday night, this show, The System, is funded. It's owned by a company called Unleash TV, and that company, Unleash TV, is getting direct compensation from Nexus Services, which is kind of weird, because we made that connection a month ago. Court documents have started to put that all together. I wonder how they figured that out. The lawyers for it, because here's the thing: this company Nexus, and without going into a big story, they're scummy as hell. It's no other way to say it. They don't pay their bills. They put they put asylum seekers on ankle monitors, or give them tracking phones, which is what they're giving to BLM protesters now. It's very weird. Long story short, the time's coming up for these guys. They're all going to get arrested, and it's going to run its course. But since all these protesters have come out, the community kind of rallied a little bit around them. They started doing, I guess, counter flag waves. So, instead of, F the police and BLM signs up, instead they had, blue line flags and American flags, and people were out there just supporting the police instead of hating on them consistently. Well, that's kind of boiled into this whole thing. Now, a couple of weeks ago, there was a guy that ran out while they were protesting outside of a private business there, a gym. A guy came out with a big old knife, and he appeared, waved it around, made it, got some really good videotape of him, and then he disappeared, and they haven't even been able to catch the guy. They don't know who he was, but apparently he was threatening the BLM protesters. Well, last night, or was it last night or the day before, something similar happened where a guy, apparently a Nazi, I don't know anything about the dude, I just know he's got a real long rap sheet, and he wasn't from Stanton, Virginia, sucker punched one of these guys in the face. And yes, I will say, because I saw some of the comments, everyone's like, oh, that was a sucker punch. Yes, absolutely, it was a sucker punch. But then again, he was surrounded by 20 people. So, you do what you got to do. I didn't hear anything they were saying. I don't even care. The only thing I saw is he punched one of those loudmouth kids right in the face, and then he punched another one. Still, sucker punch, it doesn't take a lot of balls to sucker punch someone, but whatever. And then he ended up getting pummeled pretty good by this crowd, and then he was arrested and charged with a hate crime, which is kind of interesting because I don't know what was actually said. Again, the audio didn't come through. Maybe he said something before he sucker punched him. I'm not sure. But this crowd, and I posted out and I said, this company, Nexus Services, that is now, we know, verifiably paying for this show, this company is going to get someone killed eventually. And today it almost happened. So today the protesters were marching around 2:00. Paige and Warren Cash, they are a local couple. They own a gym. They've been the targets of these people for months, and ever since they started doing counter protests. They ended up essentially just going live in downtown Stanton where the protesters were marching around, except the protesters this time had reinforcements. And I do have the video. It's not queued up right now, but I downloaded it immediately. And if any of the Stanton police or Augusta sheriffs, if you don't have the video, if it's been deleted, I have it. I already downloaded it, and you can clearly see Warren Cash and Paige Cash get assaulted. You could see them both get assaulted because what happened is all these BLM actors, well, they didn't do shit, but the new people they invited, apparently from the 804 BLM and 757 BLM, well, they just started right in on Paige and Warren, started hitting Warren's camera. Apparently, Paige was pushed by a guy, which is, again, captured on video, and they weren't arrested. Now, they are going to be arrested once they figure out who the people are, and they know who the people are, so they're going to be arrested. They didn't arrest them in the group because this is a group that's protesting armed. But they're going back tomorrow, so shout out to the city of Stanton, Virginia, for not dispelling that protest today, because they're coming back to your town tomorrow at 2 o'clock. And then they're going out in front of the Augusta County Sheriff's Office at 6 o'clock, I think, and maybe, just maybe, depending on if a package gets here in time for that, maybe I'll go down there and broadcast live, because you could push around a lady and you could push around another guy, but push around a cameraman, see what happens, because you will go to jail. I will assure you, you will go to jail. There will be no question about it. You will go to jail. And it's silly because, I'll be honest. I talked to Paige, and at first they're like, we're not going to press charges. I'm like, you have to. You have to press charges against radical BLM protesters that are actors that are not even protesters. You have to press charges against them when they assault you, because that you need a record of it, because this is the narrative they're doing. They got all these extra people from 804 and from 757 BLM. They got all these people to come up and protest based on the premise that there was this white supremacist Nazi guy that punched someone else. And I don't know him, and I'm curious. I almost want to go and request a visit with this Nazi guy, an alleged Nazi guy, and ask him if he was paid by Nexus Services to go there and do this, because I wouldn't doubt it, again, because it's a movie. It's not real. But who knows? Who knows? Who really knows? But it's crazy. It's crazy. Someone said a witness said the group was calling the guy names, so the guy hit him. Oh, and I have no doubt in my mind, and that's why you're not seeing. And here's a question. Where's the camera crew? How come today the camera crew wasn't there? Maybe they're hidden now, but the camera crew wasn't there, but yet they were still wearing microphones. Isn't that odd? And what's up with the little guy with the man bun, the little, Mike Donovan's son? He's the guy. Remember the guy that when I was out in front of the gym protesting, you had that little kid that was acting all tough, mouthing off. Anyone watch the video and watch him run away, leaving scats of poop behind him as he was running for his life because some guy punched a group of people and got jumped on? I thought that was kind of weird. But anyway, someone said, why isn't that a press t-shirt? F around and find out, PTNN. Yeah, it should be, right? F around and find out, and then on the back say press. Yeah. Someone said something weird about his kid. Yeah, definitely. And he's a shitty rapper, too. And I'm not a good rapper, and nor will I ever be a rapper. But he's just not very good either. He's got a YouTube channel. We're not going to promote it because I don't want him to get likes. But he's got a channel where he raps about like ladies and all that stuff. But he doesn't say ladies. He says other words. But anyway, it's just really weird. So that's an update on Stanton, Virginia, because a lot of you guys were asking and, saying, Steve, don't forget about Stanton. We need you in Stanton, blah, 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 blah. So, I mean, there's only one of me and so much that's going on in this country, so I have to try to cover everything we can. Speaking of covering everything we can, Donald Trump earlier today set out a press release and said, hey, how come so many people how come the mainstream media is not reporting on mass shootings? How come they're not reporting on the insane amount of gun violence that occurred this week? And well, guess what? We do. Almost every day we report on it. And because I was gone this weekend traveling, let's do it now. Let's figure out how many people were shot. Let's just go from what's today? So 2nd, 1st of the, what's that? 31st, right? That's Saturday? No, that's Friday. Good. That works. So since Friday, there's been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 mass shootings. Don't call when oh, crap. Hold on. Hello. Good. Do you work at 9 o'clock? Another. Can you call me back then? I'm in the middle of a live broadcast. Thousands of people are watching me talk to you right now. Can you call me back? I didn't want to miss the call, but can you call me in 36 minutes, please? Yeah, tomorrow evening's fine. Thank you. All right, bye-bye. That was an important phone call, and I'm sorry that I had to do that live on the air. But I'm sorry. But that's an important phone call because we are trying to figure out if we're going to buy a house. So, sorry. I apologize. Where was I? Oh, the crime. So how many murders have there been? How many mass shootings? So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 mass shootings since Friday. And of those mass shootings, it's insane. So you have 2, 3, 4, 5 people have died in those mass shootings, and you have 5, 9, 14, 24. It's just insane. So let me just run through it. Columbia, South Carolina. This was today. I didn't even know. There was a mass shooting with 9 people injured. So at some point this morning, I don't even know if we covered that. Or when it even happened. Nobody was killed so far, but there were 9 people injured. New Orleans, there were actually 2 mass shootings. Now, CNN, Fox News, whatever, they only focused on the one that took place in which one? Where was it? They only took place in the one that took place on Bourbon Street. But there was another mass shooting in Louisiana yesterday as well. This one was on the 1600 block of Iberville Street, where 1 person was killed and 3 people were injured. In the Bourbon Street one, 5 people were injured when a gunman opened fire on a crowd of people, injuring, I believe it was 19 years old to 52 years old. It's just insane. And something Texas, Nagaloches or something like that. 1 person was killed, 3 others were injured. Providence, Rhode Island, there were 5 people injured when people opened fire. Columbus, Ohio, there were 5 people injured, 1 person killed at another mass shooting. Saginaw, Michigan, 2 people killed, 2 people injured. Queens, New York, at the laundromat. This made Fox News put it on like every 5 minutes, where 2 gunmen opened fire on a crowd of people, injuring 10 people. They were trying to get to 3 gang members apparently, so they injured those 3, and then they injured 7 other people, including a 72-year-old. Which else? Indianapolis, Indiana, 5 people were injured, including a 4-year-old girl who's in critical condition. Chicago, Illinois, 4 people were injured in another mass shooting. Lexington, Kentucky, 5 people were injured in a mass shooting on the 31st as well. And that just unfortunately, those are just the mass shootings this weekend. That's not even me doing a 7-day average. If I was to do a 7-day average, it'd make everyone sick because there's so many shootings that are taking place in this country every single day. So many. Anyway, so let's talk about this, because there's stories that are being widely shared by CNN and social media, and we didn't write an article on it that I know of, but I know everyone is, and that's probably the reason why we chose not to write about it. Because it's sad. A police officer who apparently responded to the January 6th Capitol breach dies by suicide. According to local authorities, a Washington police officer who responded to the January 6th breach of the U.S. Capitol was found dead inside his home last week. His name was Gunther Hashida. Apparently, he killed himself and was found on July 29th. A spokeswoman for the Metropolitan Police Department told the Epoch Times, saying, "We are grieving as a department, and our thoughts and prayers are with Officer Hashida's family and friends." Hashida worked for the agency's emergency response team, an outfit in its special operations division. He's the 3rd law enforcement officer who was involved with the January 6th Capitol incident to take his own life. Washington police officer Jeffrey Smith committed suicide in the aftermath of the breach, officials disclosed later in January, and U.S. Capitol Police Officer Howard Liebengold also took his own life on January 10th. Brian Sitnick, another Capitol Police officer, died on January 7th from natural causes, according to the DA, although his death is attributed to the riots by everyone on the left, even though the medical examiner actually said it was natural causes. Now, GoFundMe has been set up for Officer Hashida. Now, I want to, and see, the reason why I think it's important to talk about this, and one of the reasons it does a disservice, the only good thing that could potentially come out of such a horrible, tragic situation is maybe, just maybe, I don't know how how big his GoFundMe is now, but when I checked earlier, it had $16,000 in there for his GoFundMe to raise funds for his wife. And maybe, just maybe, by using the clickbait headline saying he responded to the January 6th Capitol and trying to tie that to the whole Capitol insurrection, maybe that'll get his family some much needed money, because they should. But this is a much bigger issue. This year already, there's been 80, what was it? I think he's the 82nd officer-involved suicide this year. This year alone, there were 293 yesterday. So while, I almost wanted to write an article and be like, yeah, an officer killed himself, and yes, he did respond to the January 6th events. What about all the others? What about the 3 last month in Chicago, including a 24-year-old officer? What about all the other officers who have taken their own lives? What? And let's expand further. All the first responders, the firefighters, the EMTs, the nurses, the doctors, because this is a huge issue. As someone that was a firefighter, EMT, and had some of the mental stuff that happens with that job, this is a huge issue. And while it's great that it brings light to it, not a single article I read today mentioned how many other officers have taken their own life or just so far this year. Not a single article. How many of you guys have read these articles and saw where it said 81 other officers have taken their life? 81. That's something everybody should pay attention to. So I don't want people to dismiss the article when you see it by Fox News or you see it by CNN with the clickbait titles, whatever. Don't, because he still deserves it. He deserves the attention. And what should happen is now that, why? Here's the thing. By July 15th of last year, there were 3 Chicago police officers that took their own life. Don't you think there's something going on? Don't you think that look at what we're doing for COVID lockdowns and all that stuff. We're locking down the country again. We should pay attention to the suicide, and and because it happens to everybody. I only touched on first responders. What about military? What about? I know all too well it happens. If any of you guys remember, I know all too well it happens, and it affects everybody. And that's something. The sad part when I read it, I was just like, I knew it was a bigger issue, and I knew it's something that I needed to talk about, but that's why I didn't want to write an article about it, because I didn't want to just join on the bandwagon and say, a police officer who was responding, because they're automatically tying it to the Capitol. You have no idea. You don't know what's happened to this guy in his time before or after the Capitol. The only thing you have to know is he's someone that needed help, and apparently he didn't get it. And there's too many people like that in our country. Too many people. So, but yeah. Yeah, and see, I was just looking at some of the other articles that I was going to talk about today, and I don't really even care to now because they're just sad. There's another officer who's fighting for his life after, I guess he had PTSD from 4 traumatic calls on the job, and he started taking medication. When his prescriptions ran out, he started using extra drugs, and now he's fighting for his job back because he said his department didn't actually give him enough resources to get help. He wasn't even approved for to get any of the help for shootings that happened in 2019. 2017. He still hadn't gotten the help that he was required to get by his department standards because they didn't assign him to a therapist for 2 years. And you wonder why. These are good people that deserve to be helped. And if any of you guys are administrators, the critical incident debriefing, make sure you give that for every critical incident call, because then you won't lose good firefighters / EMTs because you don't do that, but you do it when a guy hits a tree at 85 miles an hour. Anyway, none of you guys have shit. This is going to be another video I have to delete. Oh, man. You know what? I'm going to end this on social media. I'm going to be live on PTNN. So if you don't have a membership right now, go to ptnn.tv, sign up for a membership. You could sign up for the year. You could sign up for a month. If you're a YouTube member or anybody else for that matter, and you're not a PTNN member right now, here's a hint. If you use code YouTube when you sign up for PTNN. Right now, you'll get 6 months with 50% off. But I'm going to continue on live. So if you're curious to what I really think about the election, or you're curious to what I think about this COVID vaccine and all that stuff that I can't say it on social media, well, now you'll know. I appreciate everyone else for watching. Let me turn off all the social media feeds. And yeah, we'll see you guys tomorrow on social media. Hold on, wait for it.